Welcome to Joy and Gratitude. I'm Nio Queiro, and I am with my amazing co-host, Miss Beth Mercurio. And we are here to celebrate life today. But more importantly, I'm going to let Beth tell you what our topic is going to be.
Thank you, Nio. Hello, everyone. It's Beth. Welcome back. And welcome to those who maybe haven't listened to us before. I'm so excited today because the topic that we have today actually came from a listener. So, for those of you that have seen our Launch Joy and Gratitude podcast, we say, please tell us what you want to hear more about. Tell us what resonates with you. Because this whole thing is about untangling together. It's about being in conversation together. It's about showing up as our best selves. So we want to hear from you. So it was thrilling to get a topic from a listener. A dear, dear old friend said, "How are you not talking about volunteering?" Because to him, volunteering is the definition of how to bring joy and to feel grateful, is to be giving to others. And that he would really love for us to talk about what volunteerism means to people. And I think it's a great topic. So I would love to talk about it. Nio, when I say volunteerism and volunteering and giving back, like what does that mean to you? Is it something that you do? If not, why not? Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I see it as extending yourself and extending your joy and your talent. Um, it's really that opportunity. The thing about volunteering, it actually fills your cup as you are giving to others. It strengthens you, it gives you a different perspective in life. I had the joy to go to my home church in New Jersey just recently. And I was there. One of the things that that church does more than anything is the volunteerism to the community.
Mm.
um, to the point that there are organizations that seek it out because they are the most consistent volunteer organization in the community. And what they do is they do everything from education to feeding the hungry to, giving clothing, basically making sure that they have a healthy community and well-rounded community, from housing to everything you can think of. And as the pastor was speaking about the landmark year of over 15 years in doing these programs that they've been doing, the whole temperature of the church changed.
Hmm.
And it was not pride, but joy, excitement. It was a breath of freshness about, yes, it's making an impact. And that's what we want to do. We want to make an impact. And I've always seen volunteering as a privilege to be able to be accepted into that situation and be able to give of myself. That's the way I've always seen it, because reality is we're both giving our vulnerabilities. The person receiving and the person giving is doing something that may be uncomfortable, maybe new, but we're doing it together. And we're saying, we're going to make this a little bit better for you and for me too, because now we're joined hand in hand in making an impact of change. That's the way I see volunteering.
Wow. Wow. It's so beautiful. And you mentioned extending of your talent. And I will say, when I was thinking about this topic, I asked my husband about it because he has volunteered since I've known him. And we've even had conversations where I've said to him, like, I was wondering if you could not volunteer so much because, like, you're not home. Like, he was like working a full time job, and then he'd get home from that job, and at 6:30 he'd go off and get onto a phone call or go down to the church, or he was constantly overextending in some ways as the wife. I was like, what are you doing? So I've since really been asking him, like, where does that come from and what is it? And he said somebody had once said to him, Giving of your time, talent, or treasures, which I love, the 3 T's, time, talent, or treasures, is something that we should all do, and it's the right thing. And I said, "That's really interesting. What do you mean by the right thing?" Because I just give me more about that. And he just sort of said, if you have any of those things, talents, treasures, time, then the way in which we all move forward, which we talk a lot about on this podcast, right? This goal of moving forward is to give of those things. And that when you give of those things, that you do end up receiving so much more back, right? That there is this, you give something, but then what you get back is so glorious as well and brings you joy. And then you feel grateful. He said, I'm always reminded of what I have when I'm giving of something of that I have, because then I go, wow, I have this. This other person might not have it. They might be in a different circumstance. And so then he goes walking away from that, being really reminded of the beauty of the things that he has and is so grateful to the time, and not just time, talents, treasures. I think truthfully, my husband Michael gives all of those things. He's just one of those people. It's just, and he literally was like, it's so integrated into his life. He had to kind of pause to be like, why? Well, I don't know how to answer that. It's just something you should do. And I was like, really interesting. It felt, and so I actually questioned him and said, is it obligatory? Like, are you saying that because you feel some obligation to do it? So I was really probing him because he is so dedicated to it. And he said, "No, not at all. It's just like it's just something that I know is a part of a human that I feel like is what we should do to help each other. When we have these things, we need to help each other." And so between that and what you're saying, and there's a word that's coming to me that of course I love and we talk a lot about, but this connection that
Mhm.
happens. So you mentioned both parties are in receiving mode. It isn't just the person who is giving of their time. It's both ways. It really goes both ways, and it does create this incredible connection. And I guess the one thing I want to add, because clearly I went to my husband because I am not somebody that has always volunteered. It hasn't been something that was always a part of my life. I felt too busy. I felt overwhelmed. I didn't feel sometimes that I could give back in that way. But what I didn't realize was that I hadn't found the right places to give of my talents, time, and treasures. And that once I figured out what those places were, I couldn't wait. So now I was a mentor through Babson, where I got my MBA, and I mentored young women in the undergraduate program who were navigating their way through college. That's been amazing. And I am incredibly connected to those mentees. And that has been incredibly life-giving. So I was like, "Oh, because I care about that. I care about women navigating their education and going out into the world." Um, I've also volunteered through American Field Service, which is AFS, which is an intercultural exchange program. And my daughter went over to Spain on an AFS program, and she was yanked back due to COVID. Obviously, it does 2020, so they all had to come back. So she came back, but then we hosted an exchange student for a year to kind of finish that beautiful experience. That was so incredible to my family, and what we learned and how what an experience it was, that I then became a liaison for AFS, and then I became a liaison to other students that came over from different countries to help them as their point of contact in the United States. So for me, I'm learning kind of later in life, which I think is also kind of beautiful to say to people, I know that there's this, I don't have the time, and like, but really you end up, it goes to what you and I talk about a lot, which is it feels like it's going to take time away or going to be too much, or how will you get it integrated into your life with all of the things you're already doing, parenting, working, all the things. But it is the most incredible thing that it actually is a point of rejuvenation oftentimes. If you find the thing that you love and then give into that space, it's renewal, it's rejuvenation, it is literal joy and gratitude. For me, it has proven to be so, but it took me a while to find the things that I wanted to pour myself into in that way to give back. So maybe I'm just thinking, to for some people listening, if you don't know the ways, I sort of would say it's fun to explore and be like, what do I really love? Like, what makes me light up? Because that's what's going to make the people around you light up, and it's going to drive that connection because they're going to feel that from you, emanating from you. You're not there out of obligation. You're there because you have something to give. and you want to be there. I think that that is contagious energy that people feel and drives the connection that you're talking about, where both parties feel so energized and rejuvenated in some sorts of sense of renewal from the experience.
I think something that's also important is to understand, start small,
Mm,
dip your toe in. Sometimes when you are volunteering, you need to make sure that it might be the right cause, but you have to find the right organization. And that means that you may have to explore a few organizations until you find your right fit.
hmm,
So have the time to volunteer small. And that could be something very simple as there's an event and you volunteer first for the event to be an usher, to, be someone that's setting up the event or breaking down the event, but you get to observe and see if this is really where you feel that you can better extend yourself. And the other thing is, there's a lot of learning that comes from volunteering because before you can volunteer, you must have insights to the mission, vision, cause, and actually what is it that is being done to make a difference. Something as simple as I've done a lot of volunteering in soup kitchens and food pantries and those type of situations, and a lot of volunteering with youth. You must know what to expect, and it's not all fun. Volunteering is dirty. Volunteering is not
mm,
always joyous. Sometimes you're volunteering in situations that the people are going through stuff, that they're angry. They don't know how to handle their situation, or they're having troubles finding their alignment.
mm,
So you have to give grace and give yourself grace through the process and kindness. Always lead with kindness. But remember, volunteering is taking that step to be uncomfortable, even when you don't have to. Because we always know that to succeed, to grow, we have to be uncomfortable with ourselves. But volunteering is you're being uncomfortable to make an impact to someone else. And that is a leap of faith.
mm,
So take the time to understand that not everybody is going to be the one doing the most important thing in whatever that mission is. But in the little, in the small, there's greatness and there's fulfillment. And if you touch one person, connect with one person, you just changed somebody's life. Maybe for a moment, maybe you brought a smile back to someone's face that hasn't smiled in a long time, but that is special. So don't go out there thinking that you have to be all to be end all. I mean, there's so many different types of volunteering. I volunteered for a lot of children events. I was on the board of the Girls and Boys Club, the YMCA, and other organizations. And I will tell you, my greatest joy was being behind the scenes and
mhm,
doing what got no big hoopla and nobody even saw you, because that foundation made the superstars shine and made the people be able to receive what they needed to receive. So at all
mm.
levels, volunteering is just phenomenal. And
I I love that. I love this idea of discomfort, and I one of the things we do on this podcast together is
mhm.
we're super vulnerable, and we always say what's going through our mind bodies, and I thought, "Oh, that discomfort thing," I think was probably in some ways initially part of what maybe made me hesitant because I did have some of those experiences where I would put myself out there and I felt uncomfortable. It wasn't a normal scenario. I didn't know how to handle it necessarily. And like you said, with different people that maybe were going through something. And so and yet, when you go, you are pushing yourself into that space, which then does never did any of those uncomfortable moments not end up feeling beautiful in the end, where, there was a smile or always some sort of connection, some sort of connection. And so I love that idea again of us always saying, push yourself a little bit. And I also think, also keep in mind like, it came to me that I thought boundaries came to me, of course, it always comes around knowing what you can and can't put yourself so we talk about extension, and extension should be a choiceful thing. Like, I'm gonna choose to do this because it still feels good for me, because, again, if we overextend, then that starts to not feel good, which then impacts the connection because you're showing up in a different way. And so I love this idea of, like, what is it that we can extend towards that that feels maybe uncomfortable, but is also within our own boundary of what we're capable of, whether that be time, treasures, talent. Because I was thinking about one that I do, which is like, because I can't get more involved right now. I'm involved in several things. So I was like, okay, I write thank you notes for a conservation organization, a pond that I believe in and love and enjoy. And I just send out the acknowledgments. Like you said, no one knows that I do that. It doesn't really matter, but it's something I can do on my time, like when it works for me. So I'm still able to give back. I can't do one of the bigger, more visible roles because they take more time and they're not something I'm prepared to do right now in my life. But every time they're like, "Would you want to keep doing that?" I'm like, "Yes," because it feels like I can connect to something I care about. I know it matters. So this is what's interesting. The connection doesn't also have to be human to human. Like when you talked about behind the scenes, it made it really clear to me that I was like, no one even knows that I write those acknowledgments, but there's a connection that I get knowing that I'm like, I care about this particular pond and conservation of a place. And how can I do something about that when I can't do some of the bigger things? So I love that you're like, you can baby step. There's always something. And maybe you're not someone that wants to be human to human. There's still a million ways where you can say, I care about XYZ organization. I love that you said that. And you can dabble. Maybe you don't like one, but you do like the other. And I think this understanding that when you do care and feel connection, that's when it feels like you want to stay involved. And then maybe, as you said, then you want to give more or a little more. Like once you find the places that you really believe in, it feels more natural and easy to kind of give of your talents, treasures, and time.
Yep. I am a member of PEO, and it's a sisterhood. It's a group of women that goes back to the 1800s, and it is about getting women empowered through education
Mm,
and uh, fostering over $20 billion in getting women educated to have their bachelor's degrees, masters, and PhDs around the world. And it's an incredible organization because it really educated me as to volunteerism and how in the little there is a lot. And I'll give you an example. In this organization, I was for our chapter in charge of sending out the emails, sending out the invitations to meetings, those type of things. And I started being overwhelmed because my schedule was being impacted. And another sister came and she picked up the weight. And she did it so kindly. Instead of saying, "Hey, Neo, you're dropping the ball," she said, which is what she should have said. Um, honestly, is what she should have said. She, how can I help you? How can I take this weight off you? And when when you renew your membership, you get a card saying, "We're so glad you still want to be a part of the sisterhood. When we're sick, we send out cards.
Mm,
On birthdays, we send out, and it's just little things that we do amongst the sisters that just comes natural, meaning, hey, somebody cares about you. But then it's easy to transition to the big things when we're supporting one of the young women that we're helping with housing, with books, with food, and with their tuition.
mm,
And, I live in Georgia, but I'm still with my Boston Strong chapter. And yes, I did the Boston Strong. I couldn't leave my Boston Strong chapter because not only of the incredible educational opportunities in Boston,
mm,
but because of the incredible women that I'm associated with. And it's an incredible association. But my whole point is volunteerism is that connection with someone else that is selfless. You should not be volunteering. Please do not volunteer if you are trying to put it on a resume because it's not genuine and you will get nothing out of it. And actually, you know what's going to happen? You're going to have a terrible time because you will not have patience. You will not be able to even understand the impact that's being tried to be made. And you're going to be a stumbling block for those that care. So please don't do that to anybody. If you want it on your resume, just show up to an event and write a check. But please don't volunteer. But volunteering when you're doing it authentically and you're doing it because you care about that topic, whatever it is. I mean, Beth said it. You have to care. It's easy when you care.
it's easy when you care. That's it. That's it.
That's
And
it.
the little things are big. I mean, all I feel like these are
Absolutely.
the mantras that are coming out that are so brilliant are like, it's easy when you care, and the little things are big.
Yeah.
And, I actually, as I was listening to you, because I really love, we always have to talk about that push, but the fact that you were like, it can be uncomfortable. It can be easy because you care about the organization or what you're doing in some way, right? There's a connection, care and connection. But I love you naming that it can be hard, but that's part of what makes it feel so joyful and gratifying at the end. And I just have a quick story where literally my daughter is mentoring a young girl in STEM. She's in college. And
Mhm.
she called me to be like, Mom, it's so hard. I'm not sure I'm doing the right things. I'm not sure I'm saying the right things. I don't really want to do this today. It's really hard. And so, what you just talked about, I'm like, oh my gosh, really? That just happened last week. And I said, I know it's hard, but it's going to be great on the other side. It's hard and I get it because you're not sure how to help this person, but you are helping her. And so she said, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah, you're another human in her life. That's always a positive, right? You're a human that is showing her, asking her new questions, showing interest in her life, helping her do something that's challenging. Like that's enough." Here we go with enoughness. Like that's enough, just that. So then she said, "Okay." So she, of course, called me right after and was like, "That was amazing." Like she brought me her unicorn. Like she told me all these beautiful stories. And all of it was just around human connection. And clearly, that's part of what this girl needed. Right? That's what she needed was knowing that somebody else cared about her and wanted to help her, was in her life, right? Sometimes it's as simple as that. But I love that we're talking about like it was hard. Sometimes you're going to be like, I don't know how much I want to show up for that today. But when you do and you realize that your time can have such impact, just giving up that time, showing your talent. And like you said, I do also believe that treasures, the dollar, the checkbook, that's beautiful too. If you can't give of your time, great. Like if that's going to be something that's going to challenge you in a way, uh, that's okay too. So I guess I want to say, like, we want all of it. Like, if right now, especially with uncertainty, ambiguity, challenge, discomfort in the world, if we could all help each other a little bit more, um, only joy and gratification and gratitude can really come from that.
So I want to add another T. I want it to be 4 T's.
Okay, let's do it.
And it's weird because we usually work in threes, but the fourth T is what your daughter created, which was trust. You
Mm,
see, it's so easy to walk away when it gets tough, but she persevered. She had the discipline to go back and re-engage with that young lady. And that gave that young lady the ability to trust that she was in a safe place, that she could bring her dreams, her vision of her unicorn. And now they have transcended that relationship
mm,
to another level. And now they're really ready to get busy in that relationship.
you're so
And
right.
that is another piece, a major piece of volunteerism is we bring trust back into people's lives, into our own lives, and hope.
Mm.
So
So let's
you
name them. Name those 4
yeah,
T's. I just wanna say them one more time because 'cause they're beautiful and I love you.
time,
Time,
talent,
talent,
treasure,
treasure,
trust.
and trust. I love that addition.
Yeah, I think it's the perfect addition, and I think that, our listener that brought this topic to us probably was thinking about the gift of trust that volunteerism gives
Mm,
and the power of it. And with that, I think it's time to go into the joy song for this podcast. And I am thinking of Give a Little Bit by Supertramp. And it's a heartfelt song about giving your time, your love, and support to making a difference.
mm.
Little indie, maybe not well known, but Give a Little Bit by Supertramp. Listen on your favorite outlets. And now let's see what we have with joy and gratitude. The gratitude rocks.
All right. I love this. So again, because we want to continue to get our listeners to give us feedback, I got some great feedback from one of my dearest friends that when I shake and move this
Mhm.
for the listeners, I'm right near the mic and it is like excruciatingly loud. So I am learning, always learning and growing. I am not going to shake this right in your all of your ears. I'm just going to reach in. It's probably still loud right now because I am near the mic, but let's see what's going to come out here. Is a blue, iris
Mm.
cobalt blue, and the word is beauty. Well, as always, we know they are always so interconnected to what we're talking about. But I think there's clearly a connection between beauty, the beauty in ourselves, the beauty in community, the beauty in connection. There's so much beauty in volunteering and spending and giving of our talents, our time, our treasures, and creating trust. And if we could all move forward, we always talk about that. If we could move forward in knowing that, and if we haven't volunteered, that's okay. Just take that baby step, that little step forward to see what it could feel like and feel the beauty that comes along with volunteering.
The human connection, the beauty of human connection through volunteerism is so powerful because we extend our time, we extend our talent, our treasures, and we create trust. All in flow, true beautiful flow in joy and gratitude. We'll catch you next time.